phone up here because I can't see that clock. My name is Christie W. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is February the 25th of 2014. And for that, I will forever be grateful. Yes, we left Wilson around 4:30 this afternoon. So we had a pretty good haul, and I called Daniel and I told him, I said, we're going to be sliding in like Kramer on Seinfeld. I said, but we're on our way. Yeah, traffic was pretty gnarly this afternoon. My home group is in Wilson. We meet at the Raleigh Road Baptist Church on Mondays and Thursdays. On Mondays, the first and third Monday, we study the Big Book. The second Monday is a step meeting out of the 12 and 12. The fourth Monday is a tradition meeting out of the 12 and 12. And if we have a fifth Monday, we study history. And every Thursday, we have a speaker meeting. So my guys in Wilson are meeting as we speak. And I want to thank Samantha. She's my favorite sponsee. She made the trip with me tonight, so I'm grateful for her. My job here tonight is to tell you guys what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today. But the last time I was here, it was storming. My sponsor was speaking here, and it was lightning and thundering, and the lights were flickering. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to pull that tonight, but I'm gonna do my best. I grew up in a little bitty town outside of Goldsboro, North Carolina, called Nahunna. If any of you have ever heard of that. We're known for the pork center. So my dad was in the military. My mom was a school teacher. And we grew up middle-class family. We didn't want, we wanted things. We had everything we needed. But there was no alcohol in my family. I never saw my parents. I did see my parents drink occasionally if they were out with friends, but rarely did I ever see my mom drink, and it was only on special occasions. So that wasn't where I thought that my alcoholism came from. I have a brother who's 16 months younger than I am. And we had a happy childhood. I played ball, and we played in the woods. I played with the boys out in the yard, because that was what was in my neighborhood. I was a tomboy. I can't tell Samantha that now because she says that I'm a girly girl, but I grew up tomboy and playing with the guys and beating them up, and but the first time that my alcoholism, before I ever took a drink, my alcoholism was peeking through, was we learned about germs in school, and I was determined that I was not going to have germs. So I washed my hands. I opened every door with the tail of my shirt. I wouldn't drink after anybody. There was going to be no germs on me. And that obsession with having germs was, a glimpse into my obsession with alcohol. But my mom threatened me when my hands were bleeding from washing them so much that she was going to take me to a psychiatrist and see what was the matter with me. So that that threat alone, stopped that obsession. I still didn't want your germs, but that threat of having to go to the doctor, the crazy doctor at that, was enough to keep me from doing that. In elementary school, I did very well in school, and I was in the gifted class, but I wasn't at the top of my class. I played sports, but I wasn't the best. And in high school, I played 3 sports: volleyball, basketball, softball, and I was co-captain of those teams. Never the captain, just co-captain. So I never felt like I was good enough to be the leader. I never felt like I was good enough to be number one. I was just, barely squeaking through. And then I discovered boys and partying and sneaking and hiding and trying to get away with stuff, because on the outside, Christie was a straight A student, a sports team member, won the sportsmanship award. That was on the outside. On the inside, I was sneaking around, drinking and partying and doing other things with little fellas. But being an alcoholic is such hard work. The hiding part, the trying to get away with things and lying and keeping up with your lies, and then so my brother and I formed a partnership, and so we would party together, and neither one of us would tell mom and dad what was going on, because we were in cahoots. And unfortunately, he suffers from the same illness that I do. But we didn't know that yet. I did make it to college, and while I was in college, my party had slowed down, if you can believe that. But I didn't go to a traditional college. I went to a weekend college, and so I studied on the weekend and I worked full time. My parents were ecstatic because the company that I worked for was paying for me to go to college. So they were happy about that, and so I made it through. But then when I graduated, I just blew it out some more. I moved out on my own. I had arrived. Because now I had a degree, a full-time job, a boyfriend. I was out on my own, had my own place, a fancy red sports car. But then that little fellow left me. We had been together probably about 12 years, and I thought he was the one. I thought we were going to get married, and that was going to be it. And that was going to be my future, the rest of my life. And I think he loved me, but I think he loved other women better or more. So again, I'm playing second fiddle to somebody else, and I didn't like it. And so I had myself about a 10-year pity party. I was by myself. I went on dates occasionally, but mostly I sat home. I got home from work and I drank until I went to bed. That was my routine every single day. But you guys know the progression of alcoholism. You know that and it says in our big book that, it affects women. I don't know the exact wording, but it affects women in short order, and that's what happened to me. But drinking was so fun, when it was fun, until it wasn't anymore. I used to party and go to the bars and hang out with my friends, and we had the best time. We had a good time drinking. And there weren't really any consequences. I once got stopped. We were out to eat after a night of partying at the Waffle House, and there was a ruckus there, and I got stopped, and the cop got me in his car, and he was like, well, and I happened to know him, so I was like, he's like, how far do you have to go? I said, I just have to go like 4 miles to the house. He was like, well, you get home and I don't want to see you again. Yes, sir. So, there could have been serious consequences, because I drove all the time. Every morning I got up and I was still drunk, going to work every day. And my neighbors, I thought they partied like I did too, until they started asking me questions and checking on me, and like, well, what's wrong with them? Why are they having to check on me? I'm fine. But I wouldn't be fine. They would have to walk me home and put me in the bed and make sure my front door was locked. So the boogeyman wouldn't get me. He'd probably bring me back though. He wouldn't keep me very long. But it was starting to come to light, my drinking, and I was starting not to be able to hide it anymore, because it was coming out on the outside, right? I was losing weight because I wasn't eating. I mean, why eat anything when you got liquid pork chop at home, right? I started being that bad employee. I wasn't coming to work like I should. I could write a book on the excuses that I used why I was late for work or why I didn't show up to work. And I think one of my favorite ones was that I had run over somebody's cat and I needed to go and find their owner. So that was one of them I used. But I mean, it was just constant. Every day I would come up with some kind of excuse, some kind of bull that was not true, because I was hungover and I couldn't get to work, or I couldn't get there on time. And that was exhausting. And then I came home from work one day. It was on a Tuesday afternoon, and my two best friends, they showed up at my house on a Tuesday afternoon, and what the heck, why are y'all here? Well, it was an intervention, and they came in the house, and I had just stopped at the liquor store, so I had 2 half-gallons sitting on the kitchen table, and why are y'all worried about my drinking? I don't have a problem. And they were very concerned, and they were crying, and I just could not understand what the problem was. And then I was mad. If you don't like the way I drink, and if you don't like what you see, you don't have to see it anymore. So I distanced myself from them. And they were my best friends. We used to go out and we used to party together. They were normal people, They knew how to have a good time, and they knew when to stop. I didn't. And I don't think normal people can understand that. But I know everybody sitting in this room can understand that obsession, and that you can't live without it. And that's where I was. But I had written them off. So now I'm having another pity party because my best friends don't want to be around me. My man has left. I'm late to work every day. I mean, my life is getting ragged because I just can't keep up with the lies anymore. And then my health started to deteriorate. And what happened there, what that looked like was I lost a whole lot of weight. My legs were swelling. I had walked over to my neighbor's house to party with them after I had already pre-partied before I went over there. And I got up to leave, and I fell over. And they were like, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, I didn't think you had had that much to drink." I said, "I hadn't. I can't feel my leg." And I couldn't feel my left leg from my knee to my toes. And that went on for a year. I was using a cane, had a walker at one point. I was going to the neurologist. And so that was the perfect excuse for me to cover up even more my drinking. And I did not associate any of that with my drinking. It was something was wrong with my leg, right? So that went on, and to tell you how the quantity that I was drinking, I had those 2.5 gallons, and that would last me Saturday and Sunday. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. So I would drink it till it was gone, pass out, get back up, start all over again, and do that over and over and over again. While my leg was messed up and I couldn't walk real well, I would stop at our local liquor store, and the lady in there, she knew me so well that she would bring what I wanted out to the car because I couldn't walk to go in. She would bring it out to the car and take my debit card and ring me up and bring my card back out. So I had a drive-through liquor service. And so, I mean, just ridiculous. And during this time is when I started taking the morning drink. I started having to have a shot before I went to work, or have a shot before I got in the shower to go to work, and then another one so I could get to work. And then a lot of times I would come home from work at lunchtime and have some more. And definitely when I got home, as soon as I hit the door. But here's where I started to shake so violently that I couldn't even get that first drink down. I'd have to hold that 1/2 gallon with both hands and turn it up, because my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't get that first drink in me. So while I was doing all this and I was shaking so violently, I was also seeing the neurologist for my leg. Well, I told everybody that I had had an MRI on my brain and that they had found that I had MS. I did not have MS. But that was me covering it up again. And I have since made amends for that lie, because I don't know if any of you suffer from multiple sclerosis, but that's a horrible thing, and it's a horrible thing for me to have said. But when you get backed in a corner, you make up excuses and you lie and you do what you have to do to not be exposed, and that's what I was doing. So it came to light at my work that, I had already been warned once back in July. My sobriety date's in February, but back in July, I had already been warned once that, my attendance was bad, that I needed to get my act together or I was going to lose my job. And but I didn't. And that's the same time that I had that intervention with my friends. So, and I didn't do anything. I did call a counselor, and she worked at a drug and alcohol. She worked at the methadone clinic. So I went there, and of course I lied to her about how much I was drinking. So what she told me was, okay, Christy, see if you can, instead of drinking just straight shots, see if you can have a mixed drink. Slow down a little bit and see if you can have a mixed drink. I said, okay, I think I can do that. So I would shoot my vodka and chase it with wine. And to me, that was a mixed drink. But that's where I was, guys. It was so miserable. But then, probably the end of January-ish, my boss came to me and said, Christy, I know you have a problem. And I had gotten caught too, because I had to blow the breathalyzer, and I got caught. I blew a .14 first thing in the morning when I got to work. But they had tested me the day before, but they didn't test me till like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't blow anything. But they got me the very next day. So my boss decided she was going to give me a second chance. And they have the employee assistance program. So she said, okay, you've got two options. One is you go to treatment for 30 days, or you go home forever, and you're going to be fired. So I kind of weighed those options, and I like to eat and live indoors, and I like to drink too. So I can't lose my job. So I decided I would go to treatment. And I didn't want to go, but I felt like I was forced to go. I called my parents on the way to treatment to tell them that I was going to treatment. So they didn't know. They knew I had some issues and some health problems going on, but they didn't know the seriousness of it. And so my best friend drove me to treatment. I drank all the way there. I cried all the way there. I pouted and I cussed and I rant and raved, and they did the intake at the treatment center, and I blew a .34 when I walked in the door. But I still remember that. That's how high my tolerance was. And I mean, I'm looking back on it today, I still can't believe that. I mean, most folks would be almost dead, yeah. But I was so mad at my friend because there was a little break in the intake process. So, and I still had a little bit of liquor left in the car, and she had poured it out, and I was so mad. But anyway, I got into treatment, and I was determined, okay, this is going to be all right. This is going to be all right, because they're going to medically detox me, and I won't have to be sick, because gastroenterologist had told me that if I didn't quit drinking, that I was gonna die, and I didn't care. I didn't listen to him, because I had so many ulcers, and, you know, my liver was enlarged, and, you know, I was borderline cirrhosis, and I didn't care. At this point, I didn't want to commit suicide, but I didn't care whether I woke up or not, if that makes any sense. I didn't care anymore. I didn't think anybody needed me around. I didn't think that anybody liked me. Everybody had shunned me anyway, so my best friends didn't want to be around me. My work was mad at me. I had isolated myself so much from my my family and my neighbors that I was just all by myself. So I didn't think that I mattered to anybody. And but I went to this treatment program, and they did medically detox me. And Librium is a fantastic drug. I don't know if you guys have ever had any of that stuff, but I could do way better when I was drinking than when I was on that stuff. So, but at this treatment program, it was a 12-step based program. We after your detox period, you could go out to AA meetings. You got a big book in the 12 and 12, and I Came to Believe book, and they brought AA meetings into us while I was there. This 28-day program, I stayed 31 because they thought I needed a couple more days. But while I was there, something happened to me. Now, I don't know if it was a moment of clarity or if it was a spiritual experience or a combination of both, but after I could see clearly a little bit, my mind started to change about this whole thing. And I'm thinking, you know, now that I'm physically detoxed from alcohol, maybe I can stay detoxed from alcohol. You know, and the thoughts started coming in my mind, and I was hearing other people's stories, and we'd go to speaker meetings just like this one. And I was starting to identify with these folks, and I was starting to, you know, have these thoughts that maybe I am an alcoholic. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't aspire to be an alcoholic. But here I am. I cannot control my drinking. I tried, but the wine and the vodka mixed together, it's just, you know. But I'll never forget my mom and dad came to have family day at this treatment center. And my brother came along too. And I don't know why he was crying. Probably because he was in the same boat that I was, but he just couldn't get help. And then my mom, she wasn't saying anything, and my dad was looking across the table at me and my brother and saying, I just can't believe that I have raised two alcoholics. And, you know, that hit me so hard. And, you know, both of us got on the defensive. You know, what do you mean? You didn't raise us to be alcoholics. We are alcoholics because that's what we are. And I truly believe that it is a genetic disease. Turns out, after all this, I was an adult, and I was in treatment, or that thereafter I learned that my grandfather on my mother's side was an alcoholic. He didn't drink like I did, but he went on binges. And he would go 6 months, 8 months, and not have a drop. And then all of a sudden he would go out to the barn and go on a 3-day bender, and then it would take him a week to recover. And then he would go in spells like that. I never knew that. That was a big family secret because it was shameful. What was happening to me in my parents' eyes and into other people that were around us, it was a big secret because it was something that you don't talk about. But I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed, and so fast forward, I get out of treatment, and I come home, and my two best friends that had intervened, they had cleaned my house. They had gotten rid of all my paraphernalia. They had paid my bills while I was gone. They had checked my mail. They had made sure that everything was all right at home while I was gone to treatment. And so, you know, then I began to see, hey, you know, maybe they don't hate me after all. And maybe I can turn this thing around. So I started going to an intensive outpatient program there in Wilson. But they told me to go to get a sponsor and get a home group and, you know, go to meetings, join a home group, do all the things. Well, I didn't have time for that. I'm going to this intensive outpatient program 9 hours a week. I don't have time for AA. And so I did not go to AA. I did not get a sponsor or a home group or anything. This intensive outpatient program was enough for me. And it was for a minute. It was for a little while. And until I started seeing folks that were there, I wanted to be there. I mean, I was learning about alcoholism. I was learning about addiction. I was learning what it does to your body, but I was not anyway learning about anything spiritual. I was not learning about the big book. I was not learning about the steps or the traditions or any of that. None of these folks were my friends. They were court-ordered to be there, and they were miserable. So when I finished that program, so I had to go to that and get a certificate. So I could learn how to not drink, right? And and by this time, my brother had gotten kicked out of everywhere that would have him. I mean, he couldn't even stay at the hotel. So I told him he could come and live with me on one condition, that he doesn't drink and that we are going to AA together. So I thought I could control his drinking by taking him to AA, and so that's what we did. We went up the street to Primary Purpose Group, and I thought what I was going to do is, I'm not drinking anymore. You know, I've got this program, I've got this intensive outpatient, I've been to treatment, I'm fine. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. And but what I'm going to do with you, brother, is I'm going to drop you off at this AA meeting and let them fix you. So you won't be an alcoholic anymore. But that's not how it worked. I got in there, and we went to a whole lot of meetings. And finally, this lady kept coming up to me, have I got a sponsor? Have you got a sponsor? Have you got a sponsor? Have you got a sponsor? She drove me insane. And she wore me down. So finally, I told her one night, will you be my sponsor? Just to shut her up. And that's the best thing I ever did. I stayed. He didn't, unfortunately, but that's his story. I stayed, and we started studying in the big book. We started, I started going to freedom from bondage. I started going to assemblies. I started going to this thing they have over in Sanford. We came by there today. The Into Action. I started getting involved and doing things with folks in AA. Not just going to meetings, but actually getting involved and getting in the middle of things. And then I was voluntold I was going to be the secretary of our home group. And so that got me involved in the home group. And I started wanting to be there. Instead of me telling people that I had to go to a meeting tonight, I started saying I get to go to a meeting tonight. Or I need to go to a meeting tonight. But those are the things I get to do instead of something that I have to do. And that's where things started turning around for me. I grew up in church, but my idea of God was hellfire and brimstone, I never really had a relationship with God. I prayed, I went to church, and I was told that if I didn't change, I was going to hell, and, that's what I knew. That's what I knew about God. But I learned how to pray, and my sponsor and my home group taught me how to do that. You guys taught me how to do that. I learned so many things, and it's not just about having a home group and going to meetings and studying the book. It's about true relationships. And my whole world turned around when this young lady right here, I had been praying, and I shared one night that I had been praying that a young lady would come into my life that I could help. And this young lady did. And I'm gonna cry, y'all. Helping another alcoholic is one of the best experiences I have ever had. And taking her through the book, like my sponsor took me through the book. And when it said pray, we prayed. And when I highlighted something in my book and wrote it in the margin, that's what we did too. And the book took on a whole new meaning when you go back through it with somebody else and you share your experience with them and how you see those steps and how those steps are working in your life and how those traditions are working in your life. I've always been told that the steps keep you from committing homicide, and the traditions keep you from committing. This keeps you from committing suicide, and the traditions keep you from committing homicide. That's what I've always been told. So, and I know the traditions are for the group, but the traditions can be used in your life too, and you can live those too. I started praying, and I'm gonna put a plug in for the daily reflections too. While I was going to that intensive outpatient, that's the only thing that kept me connected to the book, and kept me hanging on. I went to intensive outpatient, and was white knuckling it without a home group, without AA for 4 years before I got to AA and I got around you guys. So, and thank God I never relapsed in that time. Because if we don't keep doing what we're doing, I have a tendency to slide right back, into old habits and the old way of doing things. And I don't ever want to go there again. It was exhausting. It was exhausting lying. It was exhausting covering up. It was exhausting, isolating, and it was a miserable, miserable time. Yes, I had a lot of fun drinking. I had a lot of fun doing things, but I have a lot of fun now. Being sober and doing things. I met a new fella, and we got married. I've been married now for 5 months. I've never been married, never had any children, and all of a sudden I've got a husband and 2 kids. So I need you guys really bad right now. And speaking of that and praying and what AA has done for me, my sponsor has walked me through. My sponsor helped me get dressed on my wedding day because my mother was sick and couldn't. My sponsor took pictures on my wedding day. My home group members were there to help me celebrate my wedding day. And that's what they're there for. They are my family. You guys are my family. We have so much fun. We went to a retreat not too long ago, back in August, and I went zip lining for the first time. I've jumped out of a plane, but I had never zip lined. So, I mean, you can have fun in sobriety too, and I didn't think you could. I didn't know how anybody could go to a concert and have any fun without drinking. I went to Nashville on my honeymoon. I had the best time ever. I went to the Grand Ole Opry. I went to all these bars, in Nashville, and I had the best time and did not have a drop to drink, and it was wonderful. I've been making living amends. I'm a good employee now, although I get aggravated and frustrated, but December I will have been there 21 years at this same company, and thank God for that, because had they not busted me and sent me off to treatment, I probably wouldn't. You'd have a different speaker tonight. My best friend that had the intervention that didn't want to have anything to do with me has a son, and I am that son's godmother. I lost my mother 1 month ago, and I was able to show her 9 years of sobriety. I was able to be there for her and be the daughter that she deserves. Also, I was able to be there for my dad, and I'm still there for my dad. We are still grieving. So, 17 days later, my husband lost his mother. So it's been a snot fest at our house. We've been grieving, but you know what? I'm at the funeral for my mother, and there's a whole line of my home group members out the door there at my mother's funeral. That's what home group is about. That is what AA is about. That is my connection to God, is through you guys. God speaks to me through other folks. He's not going to send me an email in the morning saying, Christie, this is what we're doing today. but he talks to me through you guys. And that has shown me that AA works. And that you need people in your life that know. Because these normal people, my husband, he doesn't understand this. If Samantha hadn't come with me tonight, he was going to ride with me. He hasn't heard my story, and he's not going to, because he doesn't understand. You know, you guys do. And I'm sorry, I got tears up here. But that's where I am, and I feel a stronger connection with God than ever before, and it's all a direct result of being in Alcoholics Anonymous and all of you, and I think that's all I've got, Daniel. Thank you for having me, and I will tell you this, I've had a lot going on, as you just heard, the past month. And Daniel asked me at our retreat in August to come and speak for you guys. And I told him, yeah, and I put it on my calendar. And we've just had so much going on. And I'm coming home Tuesday night from work, and in my car, it comes up, Daniel Womack has sent me a text. And I played it in the car, and I am not going to lie, I was not very spiritual at that moment. Because I had forgotten that I was supposed to be here tonight. But I am so glad I am. I am so glad I am. And I'm so grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous, because you guys, there's only two places that will accept an alcoholic like me, and that is Alcoholics Anonymous and the Waffle House. And unfortunately, I can't go back to the Waffle House, so I'm so glad that AA is here for me. So, and thank you so much for having me tonight.